everyone. I'm Eric Bolling along with Kimberly Guilfoyle, Juan Williams, Dana Perino, and Greg Gutfeld. It's 5 o'clock in New York City, and this is The Five. President Trump is vowing to fight after his revised travel ban is put on hold just hours before it was set to begin yesterday. A federal judge in Hawaii issued a nationwide restraining order rejecting the government's national security claims. A second judge in Maryland also ruled against the president's executive order. A fired-up Mr. Trump slammed the move in the Aloha State at his rally last night in Nashville.
The order he blocked was a watered-down version of the first order. This is, in the opinion of many, an unprecedented judicial overreach. We're going to fight this terrible ruling. We're going to take our case as far as it needs to go, including all the way up to the Supreme Court. We're going to win. We're going to keep our citizens safe. And regardless, we're going to keep our citizens safe. Believe me. I was elected to change our broken and dangerous system, and I will not stop fighting for the safety of you and your families. Believe me. Not today, not ever.
Okay, Dan, so a constitutional lawyer and former Harvard professor, Alan Dershowitz, a Democrat, said this about the temporary travel ban. He said, don't confuse constitutionality with bad policy. And then he went on to say that he thinks it's bad policy, yet constitutional.
And that could be fair, right? But the judge's ruling was 43 pages. It's not like he wrote it overnight. I think it was probably being prepared because, as President Trump said, it is a watered-down version of what they had before. One of the things I think that was really weird about it is that he said it was discriminatory to immigrants. But if you're not yet in America, if you're immigrating, you're not an American citizen yet, so you cannot be discriminated against yet. So it's like a prescriptive discrimination. I don't think that will hold up in court. But you're going to have to deal with these issues with the court in a way, and I'm sure that the Justice Department was prepared for these appeals because they knew that this was going to happen.
They might come back at it. KG, the U.S. District Court Judge Derek Watson, an Obama nominee, also a classmate of President Obama or Barack Obama at Harvard. Your thoughts?
Cozy legal pals, right? So, but again, Dana, I think it brings up a great point. They knew this was coming. They already had the previous executive order, so they're able and prepared to act. They probably already had a draft written, waiting for this opportunity to be the one to put it forward. I'm just so surprised and also disappointed at the amount of, politics involved here. People really pushing for their ideology and, in fact, misunderstanding the law, saying that this is discriminatory when the people don't even have those constitutionally protected rights. They are not U.S. citizens, so therefore they're making a legal claim that they don't have the basis for in terms of saying that. So for me, I think, you would hope at a certain point, I don't see anything on its face in examining this executive order. They tried to address in good faith the problems that people had with it in the past. So they amended it. They put forward this revised one, which should pass any kind of constitutional muster.
Greg, it seems to be like this endless stream of pushback on everything President Trump does.
It doesn't matter what he does. They're going to hate the travel ban no matter what. If they watered it down so they banned travel solely from Vatican City, they would call it Islamophobic, because that's how it is. This is not even political anymore. It is personal. It is the is it constitutional argument is merely camouflage. It's a costume because right now you're dealing with a large segment of our society who are dealing emotionally over President Trump, and they're allowing their emotions to take priority over policy. The Republicans are concerned with safety. The Democrats are concerned with feelings. And I mean, by the way, this happened with Obama, too. There were a lot of Republicans that let their emotions get the best of them over him. And no matter what he could do.
And he had to fight a lot in court, too. He got pushed back a lot, like on some of his EPA rulings and some of the Texas in particular. Judges there would say, oh, I don't think so. And then the Justice Department would have to fight back for Obama.
But Hawaii, come on. This is the same state that tried to send all their homeless to the mainland with one-way tickets. I don't know if you remember that story. I think it was 2010. I'm not sure. But, you talk about compassion. That was their solution to they said, let's get the homeless out of here.
And I think President Obama was in Hawaii at the time of the travel. This judge made this ruling yesterday. One, the American people spoke. They elected President Donald J. Trump. All this obstructionism. Yeah, I agree with Dana that a lot of it happened during President Obama's terms. We're talking 56 days, though. He's been pushed back on everything he's tried to roll out.
Well, let's just stick with this for a second, because I guess there's a larger argument about everything. Obstructionism, of course, obstructionism is best known from the Obama years. But let's just talk about this for a second. First of all, I think that just as a matter of the ruling, it's interesting to know that Donald Trump's lawyers made the case that you can't look into his mind and decide if, in fact, he's trying to effectuate a ban against Muslims, which is the argument coming from the courts. But the court responded that there's nothing veiled about a press release. So they looked at the press releases put out during the Trump campaign, in which Donald Trump has said that he's calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. So in response to Kimberly's point,
that's not what the executive order says, though, Juan. I mean, the executive order, yes, he did make some of these claims on the campaign trail, but so now this judge is ruling on something that a politician said during a campaign rather than what the actual document is saying in policy is.
Because what he's saying, what the judge is saying, and I think and this is, by the way, it's not just a judge in Hawaii, Greg, it's also now a judge in Maryland.
Yeah.
That you have a situation where a politician is trying to, just dance around the edges so that he can effectuate a Muslim ban.
How is it a Muslim ban?
Well, this goes back to the
countries that are predominantly Muslim.
There are Muslim countries that are not in this ban.
Right.
So I think they answered that question. We know what this is about. It's about the manipulation of a doctrine so that it's toxic and deadly. And we don't want that in our country. It's about a poisonous doctrine.
So I thought it was unfair of you to say, Democrats don't care about safety.
It wasn't fair, but I agree, but I still believe it.
How can I love you? Let's
take that to court.
Liberals saying conservatives don't care about clean air and clean water.
That's exactly the point. It's like they tell us that Republicans are uncaring. We hate children. We hate old people.
Yeah.
So that's my response as well. You don't care about safety.
Hey, we're kidding. I think there are a lot of old people who are Republicans.
All right, let's do this.
But they don't care about babies.
The dog strapped to the top of the car.
Those babies don't vote. You know that.
All right, let's do this. Last night, President Trump also talked about building the border wall and took another shot at the media.
As you probably read, we went out to bid. We had hundreds of bidders. Everybody wants to build our wall. Usually that means we're going to get a good price. We're going to get a good price, believe me. Some of the fake news said, I don't think Donald Trump wants to build the wall. Can you imagine if I said, we're not going to build the wall? Fake news. Fake news, folks. A lot of fake.
Katie, fake news.
It's pretty funny. He does have a very good delivery and inflection when he says that. You can tell he likes it. But he's saying it, too, because his supporters, the people part of his movement, they believe that. They believe it. He was saying it during the campaign. And every time that he believes that he has some indicia of proof to say again, he says to them, look at this. Fake news. Could you imagine if I didn't want to build the wall? Yeah, I think he's got to build the wall. That's one of the things he's got to check the box on, and I think he's going to do it. And, the rest is going to come down to the details of whose cash register gets hit open to pay for it.
And Dana, putting your money where your mouth is, so to speak, Mick Mulvaney, today budget director, told us that $1.5 billion in this year's budget, $2.6 billion in next year's budget, earmarked for building the wall.
Right, and now they'll have to take it to Congress and see if they can get it done.
You don't think they can?
No, I'm not saying that. I don't know if they can get it done. It depends on how many, they're going to have to do some deal making, and they've got a lot of pieces to put. We're going to talk about that in the C block, I guess, about all the different things that they are going to do to try to get to this budget. This wasn't a big. That's not a big number, $1.5 billion. So it doesn't shock the conscience. So could that get approved? It's possible. It might be tough to get it through the Senate.
1/1000th of the budget.
It's not much, but he better not be Rachel Maddowing us with this stuff. He's got to tell us how stop teasing us with how you're going to pay for it.
We're barely recovered
I
from
know.
that,
I mean, I'm still going through that period. But I go back, the simplest way is to crowdfund and crowdsource and crowd build it. Make it into an event. Like, when in companies, they have those bonding exercises. Just have a big bonding exercise for Americans to come down and build this thing together. You pay a fee, you get a plaque, just like at a hospital. You build a wing for a hospital, you get a plaque. There's a little Perino wall. There's a little Gutfeld wall that's smaller than most
People
walls.
People can just walk over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh shoot, we should have built that higher.
Yes.
Or you can use.
You can stack your two walls on top of each other.
Mexicans to build a wall. That's part of the way they can pay for it.
Yeah, why not? I think Mexico should pay for the wall.
Yeah.
Oh,
are you going to pay them?
No, no.
Look at
Don't
Dana's
worry.
face, I love
Dana
it.
is appalled, but
I have the
take it
best
easy,
seat. I
take
can
it
see
easy.
all of this.
But are we going to pay them?
Well, you can pay them.
No, have Mexico pay him.
Well, there you go. Bingo. Ron Williams solved Donald
There-
Trump's wall problem.
I'm trying.
Hire
I'm working
Mexicans
over here.
and have the Mexican government pay for it. Bingo.
But let me just
I love
say-
There you go.
Let me
Look at
just
how
say-
happy you just made him.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to cooperate
Yeah.
here, but let me just say,
Bipartisan solution to the
your
wall,
problem,
pay for it.
Your problem is Republicans.
Yeah, well-
Dana was so nice to you. I
true.
can't believe how kind she was to you. But Dana didn't tell you Republicans and the Republican leadership in the House and the Senate do not think you can go around and just cut everything and say, oh, yeah, we're going to give billions to a wall.
Do you think he would have, let's be real, guys. Do you think Donald Trump would have a problem finding $1.5 billion with Republicans who have to go to him and say, hey, I need this in my state. I need this in my district.
There's no
Remember the
earmarking
promise.
anymore, though.
Yeah, he does.
But there is
And remember,
campaigning. There is campaigning.
the promise was Mexico was going to pay for the wall.
You just solved that problem.
Well, but I'm just telling you that was the
Which, by
promise.
the way, is a great idea.
So the promise,
You're so into
to
it. I know, I
his
can
supporters, to Trump voters, was Mexico will pay for this wall. Not you are going to pay for this wall, Eric
But
Bolling.
Juan, it's a way Mexico can pay for the wall. There are many ways Mexico can
Juan,
pay.
you're living in a parallel universe.
I noticed.
A universe where the things you say before the election still matter. Once you win,
Doesn't matter.
the chalkboard is clean and you can start over.
Tabla rasa.
That's what it means. I never knew what that meant.
Yeah, blank
Clean the
slate.
table.
Blank
Tabla
slate.
Blank slate.
John Locke.
Yes. Well done, Kimberly.
All right, can we
you.
go?
You want out of here.
I want more Latin phrases.
Yes, exactly.
During last night's exclusive interview with Tucker Carlson, President Trump addressed his claim that President Obama wiretapped Trump Tower during the campaign.
For the most part, I'm not going to discuss it because we have it before the committee, and we will be submitting things before the committee very soon. That hasn't been submitted as of yet. But it's potentially a very serious situation. You take a look at some
than incidents that have occurred. Devin Nunes couldn't have stated it more beautifully, but you choose not to cover that part.
Vindicator. Do you think?
I believe you will.
They don't see any evidence of any wiretapping. So how can the president go on and continue?
Because
to
that's
say
not
these
because
things?
you're mischaracterizing what Chairman Nunes said. The bottom line is that the investigation by the House and the Senate has not been provided all of the information.
Joining us with more is our friend and colleague Tucker Carlson. Great interview last night. I have a question for you, Tucker. Why not, when the Senate Intel Committee comes out and says there's no evidence, wouldn't the White House just say, whew, I'm so glad President Obama was not wiretapping us. Now we can all move on and talk about something else. Instead, he makes news and says we expect to see even more in the next 2 weeks.
Because they believe that they were monitored, that members of the campaign team were surveilled in some form by the Obama administration, by the intel agencies over whom President Obama had authority. And I think that's probably true, actually. I mean, we know that the NSA has the capacity to basically absorb almost every electronic communication in the United States, and that it does, to some extent, spy on Americans to an extent that we don't fully understand, both because it's not public and because the intel committees don't push to find out the extent of it. And so there's a lot of this going on, and we know that the previous administration was worried about Russian interference long before the campaign ended. So it's not implausible. The problem is, whenever you communicate this incompletely and inarticulately and imprecisely by tweet, you step on your own story. How much easier would it have been to call up Mike Pompeo or anybody at one of the intel agencies and say, this is our suspicion, get to the bottom of it, report back, and we're going to communicate it to the public? That would have been the right way to do it.
But we're going to have more of these stories, I guess, because we'll continue to have to look at it. There's a hearing on Monday. The way we do it on the 5 when you're on is we take it around the table. So Eric Bolling is going to be next.
Tucker, I do have a question. I agree with you. I think you and I see similarly along this, that the NSA does have the capacity and is actively data mining everything we do. But here's the difference here. Was there a specific person or persons targeted at Trump Tower? Now, we are hearing today that possibly there wasn't or there weren't, but yet we still do know that there was a FISA court request in June that was turned down and a FISA court request for a warrant that was accepted. What was that for? And if it was, I mean, clearly they had to be naming someone there, right? Am I missing this?
Here's the question, and I've asked this to a couple people on the intel committees. Does electronic communication reside currently in U.S. government servers in the various intelligence agencies that came from or was going to Trump Tower during the campaign. And you can't get anybody to categorically say no. I think there probably is. Does that mean there was a concerted spying effort against the Trump campaign? Not necessarily, but it raises a really important question, which is to what extent is the U.S. government spying on its own citizens?
But Tucker, just hone in on that accepted FISA warrant that was offered in October before the election. They had to have, if you're going to spy on, or you're going to surveil an American, you need a positive warrant for that from the FISA court, and they got it. So, isn't it logic that says that there is, in fact, someone at Trump Tower that they were surveilling?
I don't know if physically in Trump Tower, but yes, it sounds, I mean, that has been reported. And by the way, I don't think it's technically true that the president himself would need such a warrant to conduct surveillance or to order it conducted. I think he has that latitude, by the way, legally anyway. But no, we know that they went twice for such a warrant before the FISA court and were twice turned down. This is a court that has, 99% of its requests are accepted. So why is it? Look, there's a lot we don't know. Here's the point that bugs me, is that we have a right to know a lot of this. And if the explanation always is we're fighting Al-Qaeda, Islamic terrorism, it is too important for you to know about it. But at some point, your average citizen has an absolute right to know what his government is doing, and we don't, and it's infuriating.
All right, Juan Williams.
Tucker, I was taken by the statement issued today by Senate Intelligence Chairman Richard Burr and the vice chair of that panel, Mark Warner, because they talked about surveillance. They did not talk about wiretapping, and they said there was no evidence of surveillance. That's all inclusive. So the question for you is, when you sit with President Trump and he says to you, we've got more coming, Tucker, you know what, we've got stuff, just wait, what do you think he's talking about?
Well, that's a conversation that we had off camera on the flight to Detroit yesterday, and I pressed the same. That's why I wanted the interview in the first place, because I was disquieted by his March 4th tweet, because having lived here all my life, I think it's entirely plausible, indeed likely, that intel agencies were surveilling people associated with the Trump campaign. But when he made that claim, I felt he had a moral obligation to back it up with evidence. He is, after all, the president. And so I pressed him on this a lot. And he said, look, we have this information. I said, well, can you tell me? No, we have to wait. And so, like every citizen, no matter what side you're on politically, I'm hoping to get to the bottom of that, because I think it matters. It's not enough to dismiss it as crazy. It's a real thing and of concern to all of us. You don't want police state stuff going on in your own country. Come on now.
Agreed. It was a wide-ranging interview, but this is was the hot topic. I don't know what question Kimberly has, but she's next.
It's your good buddy here, KGB. How's it going, Tucker?
KGB.
I love that.
Small Russian joke. So listen, I'm curious to hear what you're going to have on the show tonight, because you can have a little bit more of the interview. Can you give us a little tease?
I really can't. What I'm going to do is go 20 minutes into the first segment, and then after the commercial break, reveal something of precisely no public interest at all.
Rachel.
In an effort. That was mean. I'm sorry.
Oh, my goodness. Why did you mad at us? We're the five. We're friendly here. We're friendly here.
I only tell you the truth. No, you know what? I hate teasing shows, because then you feel like you can never live up to it. But I think we're going to be talking about this subject. That's for sure.
Okay, so a little bit about incidental collection, perhaps. Yeah. I find that phrase and term that Nunes used.
They all lie about it. The Congress lies about it. They always have. Lied about it. Republicans and Democrats lie about it, patronizing the rest of us. We're United States citizens. We have some right to know the extent of this stuff, and I think we should demand it.
All right, Tucker, we got one last for you, and that is your friend Greg Gutfeld.
Tucker, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, yeah.
No, really, thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I enjoy your work, and most of the stuff you do I actually kind of agree with. But I have a question that I'd like to ask you. How do you actually keep getting guests?
Great question.
We get guests because we have.
That was my impression of you.
We have the best.
You always start with, thanks for coming on the show. I really like your work. You do a really good job. But I have one question. Why are you horrible?
I'm so lacking self-awareness that I didn't even know.
It was a terrible impression.
I was like, no. I said, I like Greg's style. It's very thoughtful all of a sudden. I think he's grown.
But are you having a hard time now? Are you having a hard time now that, like, because you've had, almost every other day you have like a really exciting, volatile interview, that it's harder finding people who don't know what they're getting into, or they don't mind?
Well, no, I mean, look, in exchange, we book people all the time that I don't agree with, but in exchange, I hope that we give them the opportunity to say what they think. And at least there's some portion of the interview where I be quiet and they say their piece. And like that, there are a lot of viewers on who watch Fox, of course, and I think they think that's valuable. Maybe that's the idea.
Well, thanks for coming on the
show. Thank you.
Tucker,
just real quick, I asked you in a text last night, how's the candy game on Air Force One these days?
I've given it up for Lent. Oh, no, it was, well, you spent years on that plane. It's ridiculous. The amount, it's like the whole thing is sponsored by Hershey's and the Mars Corporation. I mean, it's unbelievable how much candy there is. I didn't touch a single
piece
of it.
You steal your pockets?
Not until Easter. I didn't steal anything off the plane. Actually.
All right, thank you, Tucker.
President Trump has unveiled his highly anticipated America First budget. The proposal calls for a big boost in military spending and a down payment on the border wall. To help pay for these, the blueprint slashes funding to other areas like the Environmental Protection Agency, the National Endowment for the Arts, and foreign aid. Also on the chopping block is the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which supports public stations, including PBS and NPR. Some people are outraged by these cuts, but shouldn't Big Bird be able to survive in the real world and free market without taxpayer dollars paying for it? I think so. All right, so Big Bird, Little Bird, do you think Big Bird would be able to survive in the real world?
It's high time. It's a priority. Military should come before Muppets. More killing, less Kermit. More bombs, less Bert and Ernie. By the way, let's talk about Big Bird and why you should give the bird to Big Bird. Most overrated character in all of Sesame Street.
De Blasio or the real Big Bird?
Gets millions and millions of dollars in licensing fees, manufacturing fees. Toys, thank you. Only 10% comes from PBS affiliates. So they always keep using Big Bird as a symbol. It doesn't need government assistance. The bird is well fed.
Do you mind if I interrupt?
No.
Do you know who Big Bird works for these days?
HBO. That's my point. HBO.
So he's gone. I mean,
but
I don't know why.
10%. There's still 10% from PBS.
Yeah, but I'm saying Big Bird is out there. He's walking on his own feather.
I hear you. That's why I'm tired of hearing about him.
All right.
Oh, okay.
We're agreeing.
We are.
Right. What's wrong, Bowling?
No, I'm listening. It's fascinating.
Of conversation. Big Bird.
You were the first person to hate on the Muppets.
I did. I think they were communists. I told you that.
Yes,
the Muppets.
Don't you remember when Tex Richman was the evil corporate owner that was going to close the Muppet studio down? Tex Richman, the oil billionaire.
Okay, I missed it.
It was please. I have a long history with the Muppets. I remember I got a lot of trouble for that. What I do like is President Trump and Mick Mulvaney, they're following through on a lot of the promises they made during the campaign, including stopping the funding for cutting back a lot of agency funding, including foreign aid.
Foreign aid, EPA.
Mick Mulvaney told me personally, he said, we're going to have a massive slash to foreign aid. I think that's a great idea. Savings on money you give to foreign countries, you spend on the military. Who should be against that? Nobody. Also, a lot of people are up in arms about this National Endowment for the Arts being completely slashed down. I believe they're down to zero, if I'm not mistaken. And I agree with that. Now, this sounds anti-culture, but I think this is the area that we've wasted so much money. I mean, think of some of the things that we've as taxpayers, we funded. The immersion, the Christ in artist's urine, that one. Robert Mapplethorpe. It keeps going on and on. If it's offensive, all the taxpayers shouldn't have to pay for it. And if it can't stand on its own 2 feet in the free market, it shouldn't be paid for by the American people.
And why would you want government support from Trump if you're an artist? Shouldn't that offend you to take money from his administration?
Right? They should say
Can we also draw a line between government not censoring it? I don't want government to say you can't do it. I just don't want to pay for it.
All right, DP.
Well, in Washington, when you're put out a budget, the only thing that matters to the media is what is getting an increase and what is getting a decrease. And there's never a question or there's never really time for the media to have this thoughtful discussion about, does the program still work? Has it been eclipsed by technology? Could it be done better by the states? I mean, I think that Mick Mulvaney had a lot of good explanations today. It was very level-headed and smart. But say on the foreign aid budget, foreign aid is less than 1% of our entire budget. Okay, and actually there's diplomatic reasons that you have foreign aid in order to help in certain places. That doesn't mean all programs are good, but I think what we're missing here is a discussion about the real problem with the budget. If it's a pie chart, the entitlement spending continues to take up more and more and more of it. And if we don't deal with that in some sort of reasonable, modest way, these debates are going to get even tougher about other programs that you might like that you're going to have to cut because we're not actually dealing with that issue.
Yeah, and they've actually gotten quite a lot done here, Juan, in short order.
Well, I mean, the big disappointment to me, if we're talking about, big cuts, is the deficit. I thought this was all about eliminating deficit. Turns out Mick Mulvaney says, no, we're not doing any of that. There's nothing like that in this budget. So what are they going after? Well, for me, sitting here, I'm thinking, oh, really? You want to go after seniors who are trying to get a new job? That's what they want to do away with. How about the people who live in Appalachia, who live in the Delta region? Oh, do away with economic development down there. How about people who just want to get a lawyer because they're up against something that they don't understand? Oh, no more illegal services. Chemical safety. How about homelessness, which I don't know. I'm walking around New York City. I think, boy, homelessness is worse these days.
Under de Blasio, who's
I'm just saying.
The original Big Bird.
Okay, but I'm saying here they do away with all efforts to look at home. So I'm just thinking to myself, well, give me a rationale for what you're doing. Don't just go slashing. Think it through with me. Give me a chance to support you, President Trump.
Why do you think homelessness is so bad in New York under a liberal mayor? That's what I don't understand.
Well, I think
you're
go to
supposed
San
to be
Francisco,
really good at this.
You go to San Francisco, you go to Salt Lake City. I don't care who the mayor is. Some cities they just attract homeless people.
Oh my goodness, or bad mayors. Okay.
Obscure loser news: Bow Wow is back. Bow Wow, previously known as Lil Bow Wow, previously known as washed up rapper, previously known as washed up actor, currently known as Dumb and Desperate, came to Snoop Dogg's defense after Mr. Trump tweeted about Snoop's video in which he mock shoots the president. Bow Wow, also known as Shad Moss, also known as Tiny Shaft, also known as Sad Little Bitch.
Oh, my God.
He is a dog, mind you. Tried to make a bigger name for himself by tweeting this. Ayo, real Donald Trump, shut your punk ass up talking bleep about my Uncle Snoop Dogg before we pimp your wife and make her work for us. So Lil Weenie just threatened the First Lady with sexual enslavement. I'd say that's a crime and punishable by jail time, but given the career of Little Shad, a.k.a. knee pad Shad, that would be a step up. It's got to be hard 20 years on to change nothing but your name. Meanwhile, don't hold your breath for any feminist or media outrage. It's not like he threatened Michelle Obama. Different rules apply. See, since Trump once said sexist stuff, Melania's open game. That's the argument from some feminists who are looking for any excuse to smear the woman. What cowards they are. Oh, well, the washed-up rapper has since deleted that tweet. I guess that makes Bow Wow a big meow.
Oh, my goodness.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was pretty...
Good takedown.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
We'll be right back after
You just destroyed whatever little bit of
He is a
career
big
had
meow.
left. I like the knee pad thing.
Yeah, he won't.
Melania is a victim in this.
Yes.
No one's even looking at that. You listen to this, and those on the left are probably saying, oh, Trump, as you point out, Trump has said some stuff. So they look at they frame it only in that respect, not Melania.
Yeah.
I mean, she's an innocent victim.
And they would
terrible.
And they would find something else to excuse.
How about Barron?
Yeah.
He's a 10-year-old they're talking like that about his mother.
Yeah. Yeah. But Dana, this applies to all conservative Republican women, correct? I mean, they will find one reason.
Really not to that extent, but yes, I do think that the feminists pick and choose who they decide to defend, and you don't see the outcry. It actually would behoove them to do it, because I actually think that Melania Trump is one of the most interesting people of the administration, and I think that her platform, when she decides on what that will be, I mean, she already like you saw in the video that you showed, she's very interested in children being able to read, and she was reading at one of the Dr. Seuss books. So there's the literacy piece. There's a lot of different things that she's going to be able to do to bring attention to that the feminists will probably agree with.
Right.
And so why not take a chance to defend her as they would any other woman? Just because she's Donald Trump's wife doesn't mean this is acceptable.
Because it's personal.
Can we just say, and you could do it in your monologue, but he owes her an apology, like a public apology, not just a Twitter I take it back.
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
Yeah. What should the Secret Service do, Kimberly? It's an actual threat. I mean, pimping her out.
Killed him.
Yes.
No, I would think it would be fantastic if Snoop and wannabe Snoop got a visit from the federal marshals, and let's see how tough and gangster they are then. Honestly, this is horrible behavior. You're 100% right. You nailed it. What a double standard. This would never fly. It would be outrage all over the place if somebody said this, God forbid, about Michelle Obama. To me, it's so offensive. What did Melania Trump ever to do with any of these people?
Yeah. Just that she's married to Donald Trump.
And say basically they're going to make her like a prostitute. The whole thing is so
that they would say that about any woman is
that's
disgusting.
My point. About anybody.
Yeah.
So they're that's the worst. I mean, both of them.
My theory, Juan, is
must
that
run in their family.
Bow Wow's career is over in human and dog years. So this is like his way of trying to be relevant.
Well, you were educating me. I didn't know about the evolution or de-evolution of
I just
Mr.
made
Bow
up
Wow.
those names.
Oh, you did?
No, you
I
went
thought
from
they
Lil
were-
Bow Wow to Bow Wow to Chad, whatever his name. You know, this guy's so desperate, he advertises his birthday party on Twitter because I don't think he can get guests.
Well, see, I think...
You've been following him a lot, haven't you?
By the way, I
Chad's
think
been
there were
hacked.
lots of insulting things said about Michelle Obama, and I hope that we agree on that this is unacceptable.
that's what we're
Yeah, that's
saying.
true, but not by...
But there was outrage.
Yeah.
There was collective. For Melania Trump has hardly been defended by any feminist group. I mean,
Oh, no.
Ben could be
But I don't
wrong,
know about the feminist groups, and I don't know if the feminists were the ones who were defending Michelle Obama. But I tell you, a lot of people were offended by the kind of racial animus directed at her, and I think it's reasonable to say...
By celebrities?
Yeah, I don't remember any of it from
I
celebrities.
remember it online, that's for sure.
But not by celebrities.
politicians
This
in
is
some
a celebrity.
cases.
He's a rapper.
In fact, I think there were
who
people-
kids look up to and say, "Oh, I want to be like him."
Well, I think a lot of these Republican politicians, some of them, especially some of the locals, said horrible things. But that's not the point. It's not they're like, I'm going to weigh this injustice or this wrong against that wrong. I think it's wrong. And I don't think it's acceptable. And I think the big wrong in my book was the Snoop Dogg thing, which had a phony gun with a pop thing coming out directed at the president. To me, that just breaks down the society. I don't think there's any place for it.
Good job, Juan.
President Trump is one of McDonald's most loyal customers. I never knew that he made that ad. But for a brief moment this morning, the fast food giant wasn't loving him. A lot of people were surprised to see this tweet pinned to the top of the eatery's official Twitter account this morning. It read, quote, "Donald Trump, you are actually a disgusting excuse of a president, and we would love to have Barack Obama back. Also, you have tiny hands," end quote. The surprising message quickly deleted. McDonald's says its account was compromised, and they are investigating. Kimberly, what do you make of this?
I love McDonald's.
No, but Kimberly, we're talking about this tweet. That
Kimberly's
wasn't real.
food court.
It was fake news, Kimberly.
Listen, I mean, the problem is obviously anything that Donald Trump likes or does, people are going to hate against it and try and manipulate it and put it down. And you know what? It's like McDonald's should be psyched that he, in fact, loves their food and gives them advertising, because at least half the country will go for it. Maybe the people that don't like Donald Trump will go for Burger King or Wendy's.
Are you going to do Kimberly's food court on McDonald's today?
Well, if I should have actually, but since it was this segment, it didn't allow me to
didn't
do
allow
it.
you.
Yes,
So-
it would have been redundant.
Now, you stay in shape, Eric Bowling.
Yeah.
But I
He eats
noticed.
French fries.
Well, yeah, but he stays in shape. I mean, he makes an
They use
effort.
vegetable oil.
And, I think you don't eat meat, right?
I don't eat meat.
Right.
I don't eat red meat.
That's what I'm saying. What do you think I was talking
That
about?
means
Well,
you can still eat at McDonald's.
I eat
Chicken.
turkey, fish, and
Okay. But in all honesty, the president's diet is not the best.
Oh my goodness! Is that what this segment?
well, he'll
is
tell
really
you the
gonna
same.
become
He'll
about?
see. In fact, remember when he was campaigner, he had that big interview, and they were talking about his diet and his weight and everything, and then he produced that information on his. He needs to lose like 20 pounds.
Oh,
or something.
okay.
He'll tell you. He'll be the first one to tell you that. But maybe with the White House, Dana can tell us. Aren't there like 35 chefs in the White House? You can get anything you want made at any time.
I don't know how many there are, but yeah, you can. Yeah, the president can get what he wants, but the president pays for his own food.
Really?
What do
Yes.
you mean by that?
Like you pay for your own food in the White House.
What?
As president, yes.
I never heard of this. The president pays for his dinner.
That was one of the things that President Obama complained about in one of his exit interviews, was that he actually pays for his own food, and everybody thought he was living high on the hog. But you do, like if you have a dinner party or something.
Oh, if you have a
with your
dinner
friends.
party.
Yes, for your family. You
Yeah,
pay
but
for
the
your own
chef
food.
prepares dinner every night.
Yes, but you actually pay for the food.
No, for every night's dinner?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
I think we should.
That
feed
makes
the
no
president.
sense. Then I would just eat out every night.
Yeah, really.
It's like, why am I paying for my
Can
home?
I say something just about this actual topic?
Yes,
Because when
please.
I first saw the tweet, my initial thought was that McDonald's has been hacked.
Right.
That looks like that is what happened. My second thought was that former press secretary Robert Gibbs, now the communications person at McDonald's, was going to have a really crappy day.
Did you write him? You should have.
No, but hi,
Right.
if you're watching.
By the way, who was that purple guy in the ad?
Grimace?
Yeah,
Oh,
Grimace.
Grimace. Did you know he'd made that ad? I never saw that ad.
I think it's artificial intelligence. They're automating everything at McDonald's. And I think the robots at McDonald's that are making the burgers are going like, I think Trump's going to try to slow automation. And so they're testing the water. They're flexing their robotic muscles. This was the first step. Artificial intelligence going after Donald Trump. You better be careful.
You know what? He should go to Chick-fil-A. They're pretty good. Pretty good.
You know, they used to make
Hey,
the
you can go to
Shamrock
both.
shakes at McDonald's.
Oh, those are
and
fantastic.
then create a
Mint
situation
shakes.
for you, Greg.
Not good for
All
the
right, all right.
later.
Enough.
Later.
This Happy Meal is done. One more thing up next.
All right, time for one more thing. I'm going to kick it off. Today starts, I believe, the greatest sporting event of the whole year. I love NCAA March Madness. President Obama kept with tradition, and he picked his Final Four brackets. Didn't go very far out on a limb. He took for the Final Four Duke, Arizona, Kansas, and North Carolina, and he has North Carolina over Duke in the championship game. I will go a little bit more aggressive. I'll go with Duke, Gonzaga, Kansas, and North Carolina. And I'll have Gonzaga win the whole thing, just taking the shot.
Are you
taking
like
the flyer
kind of
on
playing against President Obama, but he doesn't know?
that. Yeah, a little bit like that.
I love it that President
How
Trump
cute.
isn't doing a bracket.
You didn't like it?
I love that.
You do?
Why?
I was just like, because I thought it was annoying. I'm like, he's got better things to do, the president.
Oh, I see.
Eat McDonald's.
Play golf. And by the way, Villanova.
Okay, so in a little bit of Broadway news, international friends is such a nice thing, isn't it? So Ivanka Trump and Justin Trudeau went to Broadway together. He took her as his guest for the Broadway show Come From Away. And you know he's the Canadian Prime Minister. And what's interesting about this is it's a new musical. It opened on March 12th, and it celebrates Canada's compassion for international travelers stranded in the country after the September 11th terror attacks. Also, Nikki Haley, U.S. ambassador to the UN, was in attendance as well. So that was very nice. Yeah.
That's a great story. You got to look
Check
that
it
story
out.
up.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
He got beaten up by Matthew Perry.
Oh, I saw that today.
Yeah, anyway. On a related note. I hate these people.
Wow.
First, I want to apologize because this only affects a certain number of people in America, and I hate doing New York-centric stories, but I hate Mayor de Blasio.
Yeah.
And I hate him more now than possibly. I hate him the way he deals with the homeless problem. I hate the way he deals with traffic. I hate everything. But today, we almost didn't have Kimberly on the show.
Yeah, look at the snow. Yeah, I
Because
couldn't even get out
couldn't
and
get to
run in my
work
shoes.
because this guy doesn't know how to
Literally.
clear a street.
Hour and 20 minutes.
Again, I apologize. It only matters
take
to the
the
people on
subway.
the East Coast that we have such a horrible mayor. But I just want to remind everybody, he's a horrible mayor.
Can I swear to God, it was almost going to be my one more thing today. I had to walk over a mile to work from the Upper West Side because
You
streets
can't
were
get
clogged.
there.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
you
insane.
can't jaywalk.
Thanks a
That's
lot,
the problem.
Mayor.
I got the
DVRs, you got to go.
Always breaking the law,
Episode,
Juan.
you know the drill.